LiberalViewer presents.
So when former NSA contractor Edward Snowden leaked documents showing wide-ranging U.S. government surveillance programs, the extent of the programs was somewhat surprising, but not the existence of the spying, as my longtime viewers may remember from my videos like 2007's Fox News helps Bush hide scope of his new power to spy on U.S., or 2008's ACLU fights wiretapping approved by Obama, McCain, and Bush, or even the one from January of this year, Fox News hides U.S. spying on its own citizens. So I was a little surprised at the way some of my friends on the left reacted with such a sense of betrayal to the latest revelations about this unconstitutional surveillance, as exemplified by my fellow YouTube content creator, The Amazing Atheist, who actually suggested impeaching President Obama based on Obama supposedly engaging in the illegal wiretapping for which Obama criticized George W. Bush in 2007, as you can see in this clip.
No more illegal wiretapping of American citizens. No more national security letters to spy on citizens who are not suspected of a crime. No more tracking citizens who do nothing more than protest a misguided war. No more ignoring the law when it is inconvenient. That is not who we are.
Wow, Obama seems like he's really against this wiretapping thing, huh? Man, when he gets into office, he's gonna fix it. Yeah! It's gonna be a bright new day for America once we get Bush out and put Obama in. He fucking sounds like he's just as pissed off about this illegal wiretapping as we are. Well, guess what? We voted him in twice, and he didn't do jack shit about the illegal wiretapping. Oh, I'm sorry, he did do something about it. He expanded it!
Now, there are a couple big problems with that analysis from The Amazing Atheist, not least of which is that showing a clip of Senator Obama opposing illegal Bush wiretapping in 2007 leaves out what happened in 2008 when Senator and candidate for President Obama voted for the FISA Amendments Act, in which Congress gave legal authorization to George W. Bush's previously illegal wiretapping program. Of course, many lawyers, including me, believe this legalized wiretapping program is still unconstitutional, and that's just what I said in my 2008 video, ACLU Fights Wiretapping Approved by Obama, McCain, and Bush, despite the justification from then-Senator and candidate for President Obama in this clip.
I get tagged as being on the left, and when I simply describe what have been my positions consistently, then suddenly people act surprised. But there hasn't been substantial shifts there. Let's take one example, and that's the FISA bill. I have consistently said that the underlying program was one that was necessary and important. I also felt consistently that we have to have some oversight and that the FISA court has to be involved in it. The compromise that came out of the House was not the compromise necessarily that I would have designed, but it met my basic criteria that the FISA court was going to be involved exclusively in overseeing that program. And so I made a judgment that at this point it was important for us to go ahead and get that program in place.
Now, I disagreed with Senator Obama's judgment then and President Obama's judgment now on the constitutionality of that program, but anyone who claims Obama lied about opposing a surveillance program he actually voted for and justified as a candidate in 2008 just wasn't paying attention, because what Obama said in that 2008 clip is very similar to what he said to justify his support of the program after these recent leaked revelations, as you can see in Obama's PBS interview with Charlie Rose that included this clip.
The whole point of my concern before I was president, because some people say, well, Obama was this raving liberal before, now he's, Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney sometimes says, yeah, he took it all lock, stock, and barrel. My concern has always been not that we shouldn't do intelligence gathering to prevent terrorism, but rather, are we setting up a systems of checks and balances? So on this telephone program, you've got a federal court with independent federal judges overseeing the entire program, and you've got Congress overseeing the program, not just the Intelligence Committee, not just the Judiciary Committee, but all of Congress had available to it before the last reauthorization exactly how this program works.
Now, there are definite problems with both the congressional and judicial oversight that satisfies President Obama there, as I'll get to in a moment, but the fact that the FISA Amendments Act and the Patriot Act have been passed and repassed by Congress and litigated to some extent in the courts means that it's not quite true to say that there was no public discussion or decisions about these programs, as David Ignatius from the Washington Post pointed out on a recent edition of NBC's Meet the Press here.
Well, I don't think it's fair to say that there's been no debate. After these programs were conducted without legal authority, essentially warrantless wiretapping under the Bush administration, there was an effort to create this in law. So laws were passed by bipartisan majorities, 2 Congresses under 2 presidents, and we now have these surveillance programs in place. A lot of Congress people say, well, it's confusing, I couldn't bring my staff, I couldn't take notes, various reasons why they don't know as much as they'd now like to. But the point is that this is now established in law. Parts of these programs are subject to court review by the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. Criticisms have been rebuffed. The Supreme Court actually refused to look at a part of this, which is in a sense affirming it. So this is part of our system of laws and legal procedures.
And that's the other problem with focusing on President Obama's responsibility for these surveillance programs and calling for his impeachment. Getting rid of the president won't get rid of the unconstitutional laws authorizing the surveillance. Getting rid of those laws requires action on the part of at least one of the other 2 branches of government, but so far, both the congressional and judicial oversight of these surveillance programs has been problematic at best. As explained by Barton Gellman, one of the 2 journalists to whom Edward Snowden leaked the NSA information, which led to Barton Gellman's appearance on CBS's Face the Nation here.
When Congress authorized this, Congress passed a fairly opaque law. The key parts here, about a couple of paragraphs, which is, I'd say, equivalent to clicking yes on the terms of service when you sign up for Google. You don't know what they're going to do with the information. You don't know what they're collecting in any kind of detail. And then there's a secret interpretation by the executive branch, highly classified. This is what we think this lets us do. And then a secret court, which hears only from the government, issues a secret opinion. Yes, you may do that. And then the whole program itself is secret. So it's a question of how much we want to trust our government. And we were founded on the idea that you don't want to entrust the government with too much centralized power.
And that's definitely true. The basic checks and balances at the heart of America's system of limited government can't just mean that a secret court makes a secret decision rubber stamping the president's secret interpretation of broad phrases like relevant to an authorized investigation, but focusing on the responsibility of just one branch of government misses an underlying truth the Daily Show's John Oliver pointed out in his debut substituting for Jon Stewart when John Oliver reacted to the involvement of all 3 branches of government in these surveillance programs like this.
Oh, well, that's lovely. So now, instead of being spied on by the executive branch, it turns out we're being spied on by all the branches. I think you're misunderstanding the perceived problem here, Mr. President. No one is saying that you broke any laws. We're just saying it's a little bit weird that you didn't have to. We'll be right back.
And that's an important point. Unlike George W. Bush's illegal warrantless wiretapping program, Obama's program is actually legal, so instead of wasting time trying to get the Congress that voted for these surveillance laws to impeach the president who's implementing them, I think those who favor civil liberties should support the momentum in Congress for rolling back these NSA spying programs, or should continue supporting civil liberties groups litigating against these programs like the ACLU and the EFF and others. And that's pretty much what I said I thought back in my video in 2008, but I want to know what you think. Should anyone be surprised, never mind move to advocate for impeachment because President Obama supports surveillance programs for which a majority of the Congress, including Senator Obama, voted? And regarding the best way to fight the surveillance, will lobbying members of Congress or challenging these laws in court ultimately prompt the other branches of government to provide real checks and balances to limit these massive surveillance programs by the executive?
YouTube, you decide.